The black cats got Dave N. The white cats, they got Doug. The Google search engine has...
Welcome to
Jim and Show!
Yay! Alright, I am Jim Boykin, the CEO of Internet Marketing Ninjas, and
Smarty, the brand and community manager of Internet Marketing Ninjas.
alright, and today we're going to talk about Moz rank and Ahrefs rank and Majestic rank and their domain authority and their page authority and why I think it's all crap, dare I say.
Yes, we love the tools.
I do, and I love all the people, and I love what they're trying to do. But that's the key. It's what they're trying to do, and it's somewhat accurate to some extent. But I think that the problem is there's a lot of outliers on their exceptions that people don't realize or look at. So I applaud them all in trying to come up with a new version of PageRank, because Google, it used to be all PageRank, but PageRank bar has pretty much been worthless for years. It's been for entertainment purposes only. They haven't updated it in close to 2 years. And so some of the biggest places that have an index of the web are Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs. And so they're all trying to have the biggest index of links and live links and history of links, and they're all trying to index as many links as they can. And now they're trying to put all of them are trying to put a score on each link, and often it has to do with the authority that they feel that the domain has and the authority that they feel that any specific page has. And they're trying to replicate, in a sense, what Google was doing with PageRank. And I guess my thoughts vary on the usefulness of them. So let's talk a little bit about what they are and what they're figuring them. They're each using a different algorithm to come up with their score. And the algorithm, of course, is based on if there's page A, and they look at how many places are linking from other websites to that page, and what is their score and value of those pages. And I guess some of the things that are the issues with it are, first is they each only have an index of a certain percentage of the web. They are unaware of billions of pages that Google is aware of. Google is also smart enough to throw out stuff that shouldn't count, and they're not throwing anything out. So that's one of the problems. So they each only have a fraction of what Google knows. You have to understand that. And part of that is because whenever you have a spider that's trying to index the web, there are certain settings that you're going to set up with that spider, and a lot of it are, how deep are you going to crawl into the site? How many levels deep are you going to go down in the site? And another is how wide in a website are you going to crawl? So let's say, for example, that one of these crawlers, we'll call it the Jimbot or the Ninja Crawler, and and so let's say you come across a site, let's say it's a school website. You're following some good links, and you end up at a school website, and let's say the school is Clifton Park School.ny.us as the URL. And when you hit that first page of the website, you're going to start crawling. What are the links that are linked off of that page? And again, like, how many levels are you going to go down? And anytime you hit a level, how wide are you going to go? Well, what if inside of that subdomain area of a website, like let's say there's a page on that domain that is, so let's say there's a page that exists that's http:// Northern District Clifton Park Elementary School .ny.us /science/resources.html. That could be an incredibly valuable page, but Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs and others, there's a great chance that they haven't indexed that, because when they hit that site, they're only going to go so many levels deep and so wide, and if this page is an outlier, they're going to miss that. They're not even going to have it indexed, or they may have it indexed and say, well, it's a score of 0. And you're like, oh, that sounds like a bad page. But things that they are going to miss is like, well, this particular page is off of, it's a subdomain off of a very highly trusted website. That page as well is internally linked so many times. That page may have X amount of backlinks. But I guess some other things that they're going to miss is, that particular page maybe is authored by Mary Smith. Maybe on the bottom of that science resource page it says, this is part of Jane Smith's classroom. And so in a sense, Google is going to look at that and be like, all right, there's a Jane Smith in science, their location, they're going to know the school, and she's going to have a certain amount of author rank based on how much she's written and how many people have cited her, and if you have a link on a page that Google can attribute to a specific person, there's all these other values that Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs can't even fathom in their algorithms, so to speak. It's a hard thing to figure out, and a very advanced thing, and they're nowhere on that. So they're missing deep pages, they're missing other values. A lot of the places, they're putting the same value on a link from a blog as opposed to a link from a nice old crusty trusted website, and a lot of it is just done on numbers. So you could have let's say you've got a link from a site with 10,000, this site has 10,000 backlinks, and it links to you, and you're like, ooh, well, what if all 10,000 of those backlinks are fake, and, or the site's in a network, or any other million issues that could be with it, or sites that could be penalized in Google, just all these things that Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs are not going to be able to take into account, and a lot of their values are on blog links, and 99% of the bloggers out there, as people know, are not real bloggers. They're made for blogging sites, and very few bloggers really have trust. And Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs aren't going to know who's the good real blogger that really has a following and is mentioned on several sites, and is in X amount of community and is this much of an authority or an influencer. And these are all things that Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs don't have. When we go to check backlinks for any website, we use an internal tool called the Ultimate Backlink tool. In the Ultimate Backlink tool, we grab the information from Moz and from Majestic and from Ahrefs. I think right now we're also experimenting with another one called SEO Kicks. We've been adding in that information for the past few months. And we pull in the backlinks from all these sources, and we make a list of all the one URL per domain of the backlinks, and then we show a little chart on does Moz know about this backlink, does Majestic know about it, does Ahrefs, does SEO Kicks. And SEO Kicks sometimes we replace with other sites. There's always new people trying to get an index of the web, and you'll see that on a lot of them, like Majestic knows about a whole bunch of these backlinks, and Moz doesn't know about them, but Moz knows about a whole bunch of these other backlinks, and they don't know about those, and Ahrefs has their own differences, and they all get some, and depending on what site you're running at what day of the month, one could be better than the other. And so we just tend to, whenever we're looking at backlinks, we pull the data down from all three and combine them, and there's a big difference even in what pages that they have indexed. And I think one of the biggest things in there of the pages that they're missing is they're all hitting the high level pages. They're all hitting the big main pages that are highly interlinked, but they're all missing a huge chunk of the hidden, I shouldn't say the hidden web, but like the web that Google's been collecting for a billion years, or 10 or 15 years, and Google's not only has been collecting the stuff, but they've been throwing out the junk and keeping the good stuff, and the good stuff has value and the bad stuff doesn't, and some of the bad stuff can actually have a really negative value, and none of this stuff is factored into Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs. And so they're good to a certain level, very high-level websites and high-level domains. If you're looking at some major company or a major brand, they're probably pretty much good signals. But you also can look at something that looks like it's a high-value company and a high-value brand, even though it's not, because they have just as many backlinks as the high-value brands, but they're nowhere near the quality of the brands. So people often ask me, well, what do you look at, Jim? Well, I really don't have my Ninja Authority domain and Ninja Authority page. I tend to look at a site, and when I look at the quality of, let's say, a backlink, let's say you have a link from that K-12 page. If you look at Moz, Majestic, or Ahrefs, probably none of them have it indexed. Maybe one out of the three will have it indexed, and of course the page score is going to be an absolute 0 for even those that do have it indexed. And anyone, if they look at those numbers, would be like, well, the domain authority is good, depending on if you're looking at the subdomain or more of the root. The page authority is worthless, and I may look at the page and be like, well, it's on this subdomain has this many links. Let's look at who's linking to this particular subdomain. And I'd be like, all right, there's 20 other sites linking to that subdomain from the data that I can get from Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs. So I know I'm missing tons, but let's just see about main pages on the web that these places have indexed. And I look at how trusted are those pages that are linking to that site. Are these backlinks an SEO purpose? Reason why there's backlinks going to it, or do they have links from like real.orgs and other real trusted sites, and maybe even links from pages on other sites that are authored by other trusted people? I basically look at the sites, and I'm going to look at who's linking back, and if you have a link from a this school page on a deep subdomain on a deep page, and you say, well, what is the value? We can say, well, how trusted is the site? Very trusted. How trusted is the subdomain? I'm sure the teacher is very trusted. Who are the places that are linking into that subdomain, and how trusted are they is going to be a factor. We're going to look at, well, if there's an author on that page, like if there's something on that page that says a person's name, how many references might she have across the web, and how trusted does that person appear to be? And I'm going to look at let's say it's on a science page that links to a client. I'm going to look at that page and be like, well, what are the other links that are on this page? Are they trusted links as well, or do they look like, they're keyword rich phrases, linking out to commercial pages? Or is it like, gee, here's a teacher's resource page? Because you tend to be able to trust teachers more than anyone else on the web. They all tend to have a resource section on their area of the web that tends to have a page that links out to other trusted resources, that you can't go to these teachers and be like, here's $500, I want you to link to my page with this exact match anchor text. Like, they're not going to take your money. They're not going to put up something on their area of the web that isn't super highly trusted, because it reflects on them. So if you write to a teacher and you're like, hey, here's a great resource, I think you should add it to your page, they may or they may not. And if they do, it's because they're going to feel whatever that resource is going to be a high quality. But let's say, all right, you got this link from this page, and let's say on the bottom of the page it says, this is Mrs. Jane whatever's web page, or her email is on the bottom of the page. Google will follow that out as well to tell the author, or maybe within the URL there's like ~J Smith, and Google understands that section of the web there is her authorship. And so when I look at the value of the link, I'm going to be like, what are the other links? Like, how trusted is the site? How trusted is that person? How trusted are the other links that are on that page? And if there's an author on it, how trusted is that author? And none of these things are looked at with Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs. None of this. It's strictly numbers. And that's probably how Google was in the first few years of Google, but they're not at the stage where they know what numbers are good and what numbers are bad, and they value blog links a hell of a lot more than I value blog links, and a lot of the links that I know are just absolutely wonderful. They don't have indexed, or if they do, they have like a page score of 0, and it's like, I don't look at that. I guess I've been doing it long enough so that I don't I don't need to look at those numbers. I can tell by looking at something, is it real or is it not? And is it trusted and is it not? And if it's real and trusted, that's good. And that's going to help, and you're not going to get penalized. And if it's not, it's not. But it's like these Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs scores, they're not going to come into my decision at all. They're also going to show pages that are like, this site has a whatever score, domain score of, 73. And you're like, oh, that must be a really trusted backlink. And it's like, well, what you don't understand is that site got penalized 2 years ago. And if you look at the number of phrases and the traffic that it had, like it was way up here, and then it tanked, and it's way down here. And it's like that's still showing up as, well, it's a Moz authority of this, it must be good. No, that site's been penalized. And you got to understand that a lot of the links that people are getting, they're coming from sites that have had issues and have been filtered by Google, and they've been penalized by Google, and these Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs aren't taking that into account at all. And it's like, I guess beginners can look at those numbers, and they're good for looking at high level stuff, big pages on popular sites. But once you start getting a little bit deep into it, those numbers aren't good. And even if a number shows as high, you can't trust it. And if it shows as a low number, I mean, what if there's some Cub Scout website that links to you, and there's 7 other links that go to that Cub Scout website, and someone's like, well, there's hardly any links going to it, and well, there's like 300 links on that Cub Scout website, and I'm only one of 300, and you're like, wait a minute, let's look at the backlinks that are going to there. Like, are they real and natural? There's another org that links into there. There's the community site that links in there. Whatever's linking into that Cub Scout website is probably real. There might be some scraper stuff, but there's going to be a couple of real, and that whole trust is flowing over. And don't look at that other page from that other site and be like, well, that's a Moz score of 0.2. Like, don't look at that. Like, you can almost go on how trusted it is, because Google is there. Like, whatever you can envision and trusted, Google is there. And without looking at all these other trust factors, these other places fail on a lot of it.
We are past the numbers.
Yeah.
Ever. We're not.
You can't look at PageRank, Moz rank, these domain authorities, these page scores, Ahrefs rank, a Majestic rank, all these.
It's awesome that we have those tools to get the data of what the backlinks are, and we can combine.
It's sheer numbers,
but not the actual number.
Yeah.
We're looking at the.
Yeah. When they just take sheer numbers without any filter and try to apply a domain authority or a page authority to it.
It's annoying. We had PageRank, now we don't really have it because
everyone's
it's never
stuck
been
on these
updated.
new numbers.
Yes, and everyone is like, it's the domain authority. What's the domain? What's the DA? What is that? What they call a DA? So what's the DA? It's like, no. It's just the same.
I had a guy a couple days ago on the phone, and he said, he started talking about some Moz numbers. And again, we love Moz. We love the guys. We love what they're doing. But he starts talking about some of these domain authority numbers. And I'm like, well, let me tell you a little bit about what I think about the domain authority. And I gave some of this speech to him. And he said, well, on your website, you say that you increase domain authority. And I'm like, what? And he started to read off a section on our content marketing page where it says we do things to help increase your domain's authority. I'm like, I'm saying that in general. Like, it's not like that's a Moz phrase or a Majestic phrase or an Ahrefs phrase. I'm like, we're going to increase your domain's authority by getting authoritative links to you. And when we get authoritative links to you, it's often writing to trusted resources like teachers and being like, hey, here's another great resource that you feel you should link to, and they will or they won't based on many factors. But if you get a link from a K-12 teacher, to me that's gold. Can't trust those numbers.
No, don't trust the numbers.
Yeah.
We love the data. We love the data that those tools are giving
and they're
us.
Trying.
We are very thankful that we have it, because otherwise the only source of backlinks would be Google, and so it's also not it's not complete. It's a sampling of data. So we love the fact
it's for entertainment purposes only, in my opinion.
No,
I don't get a lot of entertainment from them because I don't look at them.
Yeah,
those that are, take it with a big grain of salt
anymore. So don't look at numbers.
We look at them by hand and be like, how trusted is this? And
how real?
You can do that too.
Real. You cannot fake it if you look at the
use
at
the force.
Page.
Was this put here for the purpose of SEO, or was this put here for the purpose to make the web a better place? That's what you got to think when you're analyzing your backlinks.
You cannot really fake that. I mean, if you look at the page, you just know if it's real or not.
And if something says it's like a page authority is 0, don't trust it. Don't look at that. Use your gut instinct. Is this a valuable page to have a link on? I mean, so many people when they do things like disavows, they look at like, this link is toxic, or whatever you want to call it, and this link is green light, it's good, and it's like, they would do things like taking that school website and be like, this is a 0, this is red and toxic, and you're like, no, like just because it doesn't rank for organic phrases and doesn't have a lot of backlinks to it and is a deep page. No, this site, the Cub Scouts really have nothing to do with SEO. This is all natural. And then sometimes they'll be like, this one's green, it's got lots of backlinks to it, it must be trusted. And you look at it and you're like, wow, if you look at the history and SpyFu or an SEMrush, you see it used to rank for a whole bunch of phrases, and then bang, it's flatlined, and you're saying that this is green, right? Yeah. No. So you can't trust numbers and other people's tools as well. Like anything that says a page is good or bad, it's for entertainment purposes only. You really need to look at it. Maybe it's easier for me. I've been doing it for 16 years. I can look at something and instantly know, is this SEO or is it real? But I think others, you can get it too. And I would trust your gut feel over a number of a domain authority or a page authority.
Yes, so real.
Trust yourself.
Real. Hello?
Is this still a sound test?
No, we can start.
Okay.
I'll edit it.
My name is Jim.
Oops, and I'm Man.
I'm spilling my coffee. So today we're going to talk about a handful of topics, but the first one is going to be